Hi everybody and welcome back to another video. Does it sometimes feel like they're pissing on our backs and telling us it's raining? I'm just up to here with our government, the government of Canada under Mark Carney, continuously blaming the Americans, blaming Trump for all of the ails that are facing Canada right now. Now, I'm not sure if you saw this video.
Mr. President, it's a great day for us at Stellantis today because it's the day where we see CAFE regulation reconciled with real customers' demand. That's why at Stellantis we decided to invest to Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler $13 billion in the next 4 years, increasing production by 50%, delivering to the market 5 new vehicles, and creating 5,000 additional jobs. That's because we believe in what you, Secretary Taffy, and all your team is doing in this country. We believe in growth.
So Stellantis is pulling out of its production deal in Canada at its Brampton and Windsor, Ontario plants and moving production to Illinois for its, I think it's a Jeep Compass, after receiving millions and millions of dollars in funding from the Canadian government. Now, the Canadian government was just quick to dump so much money on this, another flagship project apparently that they were bringing to the Canadian economy. But Stellantis has moved production to the US largely in part because of the tariffs, what it would cost to ship these cars over to the US market. The Canadian government is just righteously indignant now that they want their money back and they're considering suing Stellantis. But let's not forget, though, that the Stellantis move was driven by the tariffs, by the cost of exporting Canadian-produced cars into the US. We're supposed to have a prime minister who was elected on a promise that he was the one to deal with Trump and he was the one to deal with the tariffs and he could resolve this so-called trade war. Now, Carney right now is in Washington, supposedly meeting with Trump and the Mexican president to negotiate the Canada-US-Mexico free trade agreement, an agreement that Trump has said he's more than willing and happy to pull out of. So we're going to have to wait and see what the result of this round of talks will be. But this is following the Algoma steel plant layoffs that have just recently been announced, in which 1,000 jobs are going to be lost, and everyone is making an argument that this is because of the tariffs. This is, again, Trump's fault. But go back a little bit deeper here. This is where I talk about pissing on our backs and telling us it's raining. The Trudeau government gave Algoma, what was it? Something like $400 million to in 2021 to convert its operations to electric furnaces, shutting down its coke or blast furnaces and going over to the more green, environmentally friendly, less greenhouse gas emission producing blast furnaces and converting to electric furnaces. This was in 2021. There was always an understanding, even then in 2021, that this would cost jobs. The Canadian Liberal government in 2021 was more than happy to make investments in a company to go green, part of its net zero BS agenda, that would cost 1,000 jobs. They're now twisting it around, saying that because of the tariffs, they have to become more competitive. They have to convert to using this electric furnace. And in doing so, the jobs are being lost because electric furnaces are a lot less labor intensive than the previous furnaces. But this was always the plan. The plan was always to go green and lose jobs in 2021. We're now 2025 going into 2026, and the jobs are now being lost. Conveniently now, though, they can blame Trump and the tariffs as the cause for the layoffs. BS. This was part of the plan. This was going to happen way back in 2021. It almost seems like the government just doesn't care about the Canadian workers, the Canadian people. They keep just dumping so much money on these companies, virtue signaling projects around the world that do not benefit Canadians. They're not benefiting the majority of Canadians. It's bad enough that we have a prime minister who is completely devoid of any ability to deal with Trump. Now we can see why Trump wanted him to win the election. He could see this. He could see that Carney was just not a person to stand up for Canadian workers and for the Canadian economy. And the litany of virtue signaling projects that Canada is still investing and pumping money into just grows and grows and grows. The recent one, a good one, was Canada has given $1 million. Now, this blew me away. Canada has given $1 million to the Lebanese Army ski school to improve its accommodations. $1 million for the Lebanese Army to approve accommodations at its ski school. I don't want to sound bad. I don't really give a damn where the Lebanese Army sleeps while he goes to ski school. Canadian base housing, PMQs and shacks are in dire need of upgrading. So what we're asking our servicemen and women to live in, if this was on the economy in the private sector and you were renting from a landlord and the conditions were as they are on base housing, you'd be taking your landlord to the housing tribunal and winning. But yet we have all of this money, we're giving it away to the Lebanese army. How does this benefit Canada in any way to give the Lebanese army $1 million to improve housing at its ski school? It just goes on and on and on. The government and Jolie is making a big argument they're going to be suing Stellantis to get its money back. But just look, I'll do a video on this. I mean, I mentioned it in a previous one, just Global Affairs Canada, the hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, what they gave Stellantis and Algoma pales in comparison to these projects that the government is funding overseas, that at the end of the day do not create jobs for Canadians, do not help Canadians that are going to food banks, do not improve healthcare in Canada. We have so much money. There's untold amounts of money for improving healthcare in other countries, while, look at my other video, 82-year-olds are dying in hospital because they're not getting the proper treatment. What do we expect though? We were warned explicitly by the former British Prime Minister Liz Truss. She warned Canadians to not elect Carney. She saw the damage he did when he was a governor of the Bank of England, when he was all in for quantitative easing to pump money back into the economy, almost destroying the British economy. And he's here doing the same thing, seemingly printing money to fund projects overseas, to give to corporations. And let's be honest, are we funding these corporations to create jobs for Canadians, or is this another wealth transfer program at taxpayers' expense? We are just lining the pockets of corporations that don't give a damn about Canadian workers. The Canadian government keeps writing checks for BS projects, for big major announcements that they're working for Canadians. They do not care a jot about Canadians. If they cared a jot about Canadians, we wouldn't be giving $1 million to the Lebanese Army ski school. We wouldn't be giving the G20 Global Fund $500 million for health projects in developing countries. It just never ends. They're pissing on our backs and telling us it's raining. People need to start opening their eyes here. Like I said on my last video, we got to start calling them out. We got to start holding them accountable. The answers, the information's out there. It's out there. If you dig for it, you can see just where the money is going and how much is being spent, how much is being blown. Got to dig. We cannot rely on CBC, CTV. We cannot rely on mainstream media to give us the information and give us the answers. It's out there. The information is out there. So, I'm just waiting to see what happens now following the meeting with Trump and the Mexican president. for the renegotiation of the Canada, US, Mexico free trade agreement. We'll see what comes as a result. I don't think Canada is going to come out well. We don't have the right guy in place to deal with Trump, to negotiate with Trump. The US is not the enemy. Trump is not the enemy. He's doing what he needs to do for the Americans. And he's already telling them now that because of the tariffs and the renegotiation of the agreements that are in place, he's looking at potentially eliminating income tax in the US. Could you imagine eliminating income tax in the US while we're still blaming him for everything that's failing in Canada? What's failing in Canada is our political leadership. We need a change. Anyway, guys, thanks for making it this far. Another rant. But I'm just tired. I'm just tired of hearing all of the complaining about Trump. We want to fix things. We need to acknowledge the problem. The problem lies at home. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Drop me a comment below. And if you haven't already, would be greatly honored if you'd subscribe to the channel. And again, let me know what you think in the comments below. And until the next video, take care of yourselves.